Alright, my name is Waldog. I am a vampire. I'm doing another video because I just like making videos, like talking. It's helpful for me, and part of this, message of this channel is still spreading positive awareness of vampires and communication. Communication with all people, and vampires are people too. Positive awareness of nice vampires. I don't know if I said that. Vampires that are not doing all that crap. But actually, I was going to talk about something. I was going to talk about message of self-worth and stuff like that. But I think it's actually, for me personally, be more interesting to talk about other vampires. When I say all that crap, obviously I paused in hesitation, but I'm like, when it comes down to it, to me personally, my beliefs, I'm just a person, And if another person is making decisions that I don't agree with, it's still it's not, to me, from my experience, as I literally just said, vampires are people too that what would I do? What would I be like? But more, let me finish what I'm saying. Like, what if I was in a room with another vampire, and the vampire made me feel uncomfortable? I didn't agree with their lifestyle or their choices. What would I do? I think I'd just be, clearly I would. This is a difficult question. I know I challenge myself on this one, but it's kind of like therapy for me. But also, honesty. My first, knowing myself when I first created this channel, like early on, I would say, just distance myself, get away from that person if the person's doing things I don't agree with. But as an adult, I think a better answer would be that I'd feel I wouldn't feel afraid, but I would feel something like, I don't want to say this, so it's good for me to say this. I would be afraid. I'd be afraid that my values, my beliefs, could be jeopardized if it was a person who was I didn't agree with. If it was a vampire I didn't agree with. But because the reason I say that is that I wouldn't want my values to change. My beliefs. think it's as simple as that, honestly. It's as simple as that. And the difference between being in a room with another vampire and being in a room with just another person. I know that sounds being being prejudiced in that sense. I know that's a strong word, but you know, I know that vampires are very powerful creatures. They can be. But you know, there are powerful people out there and people who are very experienced of all walks of life. So, in general, if it's a person or a person who I'm aware of as a supernatural being, there's a difference. And I know I'm being real, I'm being raw, I'm being honest. You know, I've known a lot of people who are skilled, you know, in influencing others. Part of me has always been very skeptical, or tried to stay skeptical, and it could be said that I'm overly skeptical and overly careful, but you know, I don't want to. I don't want my life to change too much dramatically. I don't think anybody really wants that. Maybe there's some people, clearly, but me personally, I like how I live my life. You know, I like my life, but you know, I think another honest thing is that, you know, I've experienced and trauma and misunderstandings and confusion, just like any other person. And I don't like that. I don't like that about myself. But you know, it reminds me that and keeps me humble, and that's important to me. And you know, it helps me. It reminds me, you know, even though I'm quote unquote flying solo, which I'm, you know, I'm not really flying solo, but I'm trying to. That, you know, to me personally, at the very root of my thinking is that, you know, it's better to be together, working alongside other people than to be alone. And I do truly believe that. And, you know, if a person who is doesn't believe that, there's a very that is a very something that I struggle with. Uh, but it's about communication. But I know there's not there's people out there who are not who are doing their own thing. But it's not what I stand for. It's not what I represent. And I know better than to wouldn't be right to try to change people who are fundamentally who believe that. I realize it'd be a waste of time, but also it'd be against my values. And I mean, honestly, if there's another vampire and the vampire is not if their heart, if their meaning for life isn't based around trying to work as a team and help others and be a positive role model as best as they can be, then it's not for me. Do I have conflict and struggle? Yes. Is everything perfect and roses? No. For me and how I behave, no, not. But I do fundamentally care and think that it's better to work together. And so, I just want to say that, get that off my chest. I've kind of got that, right now what I've got going for me is kind of like a bad boy image, but, it's not really. It's like a superficial thing, to be honest. It's like a surface level thing. And I know that other people can see it. But aside from the whole vampire stuff, it's just part of being a man. I realize that too, being a person. But I do have my struggles. I do have my conflict, and as I said, I'm still growing. I think it's interesting. Like, I try not to think too much about, well, what's the point, that kind of mentality. But, believe in God. I believe in trying to make a difference. I I realize that, I'm not mainstream. I'm not I'm not a good role model for mainstream, but that's just who I am. But from my perspective, from kind of an outsider perspective, um, I have a different viewpoint, different vantage point on certain things that I see that a lot of people have. And I enjoy seeing other people happy. I enjoy living vicariously, which is the expression, through other people's, seeing other people happy and feel certain feelings that they enjoy certain experiences that I may not feel, or I'm aware that I feel differently. And it's hard for me because there are certain things that I have to build in myself to understand certain things that come naturally to people. And it's not easy. Not easy for me, but I know it's worth the effort because I get to be with people I care about. I get to be together with people and work alongside people. And the whole, so-called superhero thing, the greatest thing about the greatest thing to me personally is that I get to be with people. Because, yeah. I'm being all serious and stuff like that. I'm talking about some serious things, but to me, it's just my mood. I think it's good for me to take things in consideration from my reality standpoint, but yeah. Okay, I'm now I'm going to go to bed. So I appreciate y'all for watching, and talk to you later.